Right, hi everybody. Thank you for joining us. We are recording the call. So I'm not going to get everybody to introduce yourselves as we've got a lot to cover in the remaining time. But a few very quick introductions from our side. So we've got Sally from Suffolk ALC. I'm sure you all know her. We've got Russ, who's the technical lead from Junari. We're the people who've created JAMS, and myself, I'm the managing director of Junari. Quick overview of today's session. We do want this to be interactive, so interrupt if you've got anything pressing, but bear in mind we'll have a slot at the end for any open discussion. So if you're able to hold off, then please do. I'll start with an overview of where we're at and what our mission is. Then I'll quickly run through the JAMS system at a very top level before handing across to Russ. Sorry? Sorry, Phil? Will you ask your question, Phil? Oh, okay. Then I'll quickly run through the JAMS system at top level. I'll hand across to Russ and Sally, who will demo certain areas of the system in more detail. And then we'll briefly mention how we're delivering the system to ALCS and cover a few points about what we're planning for the future of the system. And then finally, we'll close off with that I mentioned earlier about an open discussion and some Q&As. Just a quick overview of where we're at. So Suffolk ALC designed the system last year. That was, of course, Sally working very closely with us with a view to sharing best practice with other ALCs. And it's since become known as JAMS, the Junari ALCS Management System, which has led to a hell of a lot of very silly JAMS-related puns, such as spread it round, helping you manage sticky situations, preserving good practice, etc., mainly thanks to Danny and Sally. We've funded a lot of the development so far, but going forward, the only funding for this system is going to be from existing ALCs who wish to invest, or if you can get a grant or if you want to fund, or new ALCs who purchase the system. So for this reason, the system doesn't do everything you need. It's not perfect, but we're using your investments to get as close to that as possible. Just for a bit of context, I had the privilege of chairing a large mind mental health association for almost 4 years. And I learned that while National Mind provided a supportive central hub, it was our closeness to our peers, i.e. the other mind associations, that gave us the greatest benefits. So more importantly than giving you all a system, our mission is to enable you to share and benefit from best practice. We think that's a lot more important than a computer system. So as such, we plan to set up an online forum for JAMS users, and we already have a central knowledge base, which we're considering opening up to beyond just user guides so that you can all contribute towards that, and that will help best practice as well. So we're going to start off with a demo of JAMS itself. I am less nifty with the system than Sally and Russ, so I will do my best. But so let me try and share my screen. 1 second. Oh, let's let Karen in. We'll just welcome Karen in quickly, and then we'll move across to that. Hi there, Karen. We're recording at the moment. I've just gone through some introductions, but we are recording, so you'll be able to see the start if you wish. Just about to share my screen, just to get you up to speed and go through an overview of the system before I hand across to Russ, our technical lead, and Sally from Suffolk. So if you bear me just a moment, I'm just moving a few things around. Sorry, everybody. I've got 2 monitors here, and I'm wrestling with what to put on which monitor and what buttons to click to share. Right. Right, can somebody who's not on mute, because I can't see you now, confirm that you can see my screen okay?
Yep.
Fantastic.
It's fine.
Thank you. Right, and it's all legible. That's a good size for everybody?
It's good for me. Yeah. If you're not.
Yeah.
Right, so JAMS is a web-based system. So it runs on any device with an internet browser. And you'll see on the screen that we've set up a demo based on DemoShare ALC. So as ALCs, you'll browse to your own JAMS system as you would any other website. So for this demo, for example, any of you could get to this page by typing that into a web browser now. This is a public page. And your member councils will do the same. They'll also browse to it like any other website, which you can bookmark up here. And you'll also log in via the same page as your membership councils, but you'll have access to the entire system, whereas your member councils will only have access to a portal, which we'll show you a bit later. So for now, I'm going to log in pretending that I'm a member of DemoShare staff. So I've got to the sign in page here. I'm just going to log in. Okay. So I'm just going to give you a quick overview of the system before handing across to Russ and Sally, who will go into more detail. So just a quick look then. So you can see across the left here, these are the main areas of the system. Excuse me. Don't let them overwhelm you. We can turn bits off. You don't need to use all of them. We can turn bits off for certain people, etc., etc. And across the top are sub-menus of whichever area you're in. So if I'm in events, for example, these things apply to events. If I'm in the address book, these things apply to the address book. This is a list screen. So this is showing a list of whatever I'm looking at. So I'm looking at the address book. And from here, it's very easy to filter and group. So for example, if I want to filter to look at all the individuals or all the organizations or all the organizations who are active members, who've got the letter A in them, I can, which is all of them in this case, I can do that very easily with a few clicks. And I can also group very easily, which is very useful. So if I group by county, for example, and let's switch that into a different view, we can see where all our where all our organizations in our system are grouped by county. And from here, I can do things like pin it straight to a dashboard, save the search, and we'll look at those things in a second. So the address book is also where you invite your member councils or re-invite them. So if we go into organizations, for example, let's tick all 43 of these. From here, it's very easy to go like this and grant them with portal access. So this is the area that your member councils will be looking at to access the features that you've granted them. So if I do this now, it's telling me, well, these contacts don't have portal access at the moment. And these ones already have them. So do you want to re-invite those people? So that's how easy it is to do this. On top of that, you've got things like multi-select. So let's go into the knowledge base. Again, we'll go into this in more details. Let's say we go in the health and safety area and we want to turn on the review date. So let's look at the review date for these two policies that we've got under health and safety. I can tick both of those and let's set the review date to, oops, need a bit more space on the screen. Review date to the end of May. And it's done that for both of those in one go. And I can also equally just clear that out. So as you can see, it's very, very easy to kind of do all these things. And the great thing is once you've learned one part of the system, for example, the address book with the filters and the group by and the favorites and all those things, it's the same across the board. You've learned the entire system. There's also dashboards. So we mentioned earlier, you can very quickly pin to a dashboard. You've all got a personal dashboard, so you can tailor things based on what's useful to you, and shared dashboards on top of that. I know Russ and Sally are going to be going into a bit more detail about these, but this is just a bit of a taster for it where you can add your own components and edit these things. And on top of that, you can do things like, which is very useful for reports, for example, save this as an image. So you can actually save that as an image and then embed it in the report. So there's a whole host of things you can do with this sort of stuff. And that's pretty much it from me for an overview. I'm going to hand over to Russ now, who's going to start off with an overview of the customer service. So I will unshare my screen.
Cool. Cheers, Dom. I'm just going to share my screen. Okay. Can you guys hear and see my screen okay?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Cool. Okay. So yeah, as Dom mentioned, I'm going to show you through in a bit more detail about a few areas of the system. So Don pointed out there's quite a few modules in the system, as you can spot from here, memberships, marketing, lots of different bits and pieces. So we're not going to have time to go through everything, but we're going to sort of give you as much of an overview as we can. So I'm going to look into the customer service area. So this would be where you guys manage your inquiries from your member councils. So the way we've got this set up at the moment is you can have one or more teams within your organisation. So, for example, we've got sort of general inquiries that come into this team, and then if it's specific to payroll or internal audit, you can then move the inquiries between these different teams if you want to. If you prefer to have it all in one team, you can do that as well. It's entirely up to you how you set this up. So I'm going to look into a particular team. So within a team, if you guys have ever used something like Trello, you have each of these cards represents a ticket or an inquiry on the system. And you can see they've got columns here, which are the stages. And you can actually move columns, things between stages as well. So if a particular ticket's on hold, I can drag that across, super easy. And then to access an inquiry, I can just click straight into it. You can see here's some details about this particular inquiry. So you can see you've got lots of bits and pieces. Each inquiry gets its own number. You can see which organisation it's relating to, what priority it has, different categories. And again, the categories, if I just show you that, click edit, I can show you categories. So you guys, again, you have complete control over these, so you can get as fancy or as simple with the categories as you want. And we'll look at some dashboards in a while that show you sort of how you can get sort of overview of how many inquiries you have relating to different types of things. So that's sort of useful management information you can get once it's all in the system. Then you've got the details of the inquiry down the bottom there, which is the description, and then any solution. So this one hasn't been solved yet. This is still in progress. And then on the right-hand side of the screen, you've got any sort of history that's associated with this ticket. So you can see there's been some emails going backwards and forwards, and you can sort of see the overview of the history that's been going on with it. So it's a really useful way to see everything that's going on with your tickets in one place. And obviously that's the same for all of these tickets. So what I'll show you now is what it looks like from your member council's perspective. So I've got another browser open down the bottom here. So this is going back to the home page of my local association. I've got a link up the top here for my member portal. So if I try and click on that, so it's going to ask me to log in straight away. So I'm going to log in as the clerk, the test clerk in this case. Click on login. There we go. So when the member council logs in, they see the portal homepage. Now these areas you can actually customize again yourself. We've also got the inquiries area, which would be where they would look at their inquiries. But all these other bits here, you can actually create as many of these as you want. And these are all links to like URL links. So you can have links to different parts of your website or anything that's useful to your member councils. You can create it as a block on here and give it a nice picture and things to help your councils out. And then on the right hand side, you can see I've got an area where I can update my details. So as a particular clerk, so actually let's just say I need to change my name because my name isn't Test Clerk. Let's change it to Russell Briggs. It's updating my details here, and I can update my phone number as well if I want to. Give that a save. Okay, so straight away, that's now updated. And because this is all a fully integrated system, that's actually updated it in my member database straight away. So there's no it's a single source of information. You've also got the top level organisation details here, main address, the main ALC email address, and you've also got if there's you can see, for example, you can see the former clerk. So you've got access to as a chairperson or a clerk of the council, I can see all of the members of my council that are registered with the ALC system, which is super handy. Okay, so I'm going to quickly go into to the inquiries area. So that's this link button here. You can see straight away I can see how many open inquiries I've got here as well, which is pretty handy. Okay, there we go. So I've gone into the so there's various things you can do. So let's say you've got lots of inquiries. Obviously, these cards are quite nice for seeing all the information. But if I've got lots, then probably a list here would be a bit more useful. So I can just change that straight away on the right here. And I can do things like only look at open or closed inquiries. Let's say I just want to look at open inquiries. Filter there, and I can just maybe search for all the ones to do with HR. Okay, so you can sort of quickly filter the list depending on actually raised with you guys. And so I'm just going to quickly go through and raise a new inquiry. So I'll click on the new inquiry button. So again, I can pick the category. There's obviously in this particular demo, we've got quite a few set up. And I'm going to put one in to do with health and safety. So up here. Okay, I'll just put one in to do it with administration, easy to find. And I'm going to put here inquiry about matters. Cool. You've got the option to make it confidential. So if it's, for example, an HR and it's relating to, if I'm the clerk and it's relating to the chairperson, for example, I might not want the chairperson to see this ticket or this inquiry. So I might want to check that box so that only I can see. So that's what it says there, so that no one else from the council can see that inquiry. Okay, instant details. I can set any priority if I want to. I can also request a deadline. So let's say I need this dealt with by the end of next week, for example. Let's put it in for next Friday. But when I do that, it asks me why, and I'll say because I have a meeting. I have a meeting. That'll do for now. If there's any documents and things you can you want to upload, you can do that there as well. So I'm going to create that inquiry. Okay, so that's gone straight through. And then just to show you quickly what that looks like on the in the JAMS system. So I'll switch back to that. Inquiries will come into the main team, which is this one. I should see, okay, so straight away I've seen it there. We can also do things like email alerts if you want to get an email when a new ticket comes in. But what we encourage people to do is obviously just to keep an eye on. You can do things like put this on your dashboard so you can see straight away when you get new tickets in. Now, if I look into this, you can see that it's come through from the portal, and you've got all the information there that I entered in on the portal, which is super handy. Cool. Okay. And then the next thing I'll just quickly show is so interaction. So as a member of the county association now, I can also update any of the details that I need to over here. So let's just assign myself. So at the moment it's not assigned to anyone, so let's assign it to myself. And I'm going to put it as, I'm going to say that it's currently looking at it, it's currently in progress. And actually, I need to ask them more information. So from within the inquiry, I can send messages. So I can pop over here and send a new email. You can have things like templated emails. So for example, I'll pull this down. I've got a health and safety template here that I've already got set up, so I can pull that through. And then again, you can have any sort of standard information that you'd send out in this case, and I can just send that straight away from there. So it saves me lots of time. And then you can see that goes into the history. And then I'll just quickly show. So that does go out as an email, but it can also be seen if I now go back looking at the inquiry from your council's perspective. I can now click into this, and then look into this as well. One other thing to mention when I'm actually solving these problems, so as well as obviously sending this information out, I can. There's also the knowledge base. So I'm just going to pop open the new tab. So while I'm dealing with this inquiry, you can actually have as many tabs open as you want. So just in Chrome, you can actually just duplicate this tab. And then I'm going to switch over to the knowledge base area of the system. And then I can quickly look at health and safety, for example. So whenever I'm dealing with any inquiries, I can immediately switch over to the knowledge base area and search for any information that I've got relating to those inquiries that's coming in. Cool. Okay, so that's a little bit on the customer service area. Hopefully that's helpful. And so I'm going to dive into a bit more detail about in the address book now to do with member council information and that sort of thing. So as Don showed, when you go into any area of the system, you've got the ability to sort of do filters. So, for example, I can just look at see I've got different membership statuses here, so I can look at just my active members. So actually, let's go. I want to look at councils, and I want to look at just my active councils. Okay, so it's quite nice and easy to do. And let's have a look at Brentwood Council. Click it into there. So again, it's similar to tickets. So on the right-hand side, you've got some history information. So I can see that we've recently updated some data, and also the membership date update. Sorry, the membership date has been changed recently. And then in the left-hand side here, I can see who we currently got on file. So we currently got the former clerk here and the clerk. We've also got the possibility to capture additional information about the council. So what type of council they are. So this particular one's not filled in. Whether they've got GPOC, whether it, when it's valid to LCAS or that sort of thing. And we can also capture information about the number of seats, councillors, vacancies, and precepts. So that sort of information is there and able to be filled in. And as part of the JAMS project, when you commission the project, we can import your existing data into this area, so you don't have to enter that yourself when we set the system up. So that's council information tab. We then also got the information about memberships. So you do have the option to have a membership number, which can be generated for you if you want. So that's optional if you want to use that. And then you've got membership start and end date standard things. And this doesn't have any services, but you can have within a particular membership type, you can have additional services. And what I'll actually do is I'm going to go to a council that's not a member and just make them a member quickly, just to show you how that works. So I'm going to quickly do that. So I'm going to stop looking at active members. I'm going to go and look at non-members. Let's pick one of these. Chancellor currently not a member. And I'm just going to add a membership. So when you're putting in a new membership, again, obviously not all ALCs have this, but you have the ability to have different levels of membership if you need to. And within that, you can, so that you notice when I select a membership, it does fill in a membership fee. Now we obviously heard across some ALCs that it's based on the size of the council. So obviously this is a fixed fee at the moment, but as we get more investment in the product, we're going to be extending this so that it can be based on, you know, the site, the electorate, that sort of thing. So that's basic fee. And then I can go ahead and if there's any additional services, I could go in here and say, okay, so this council also wants a payroll service. I'll click on that. And that's added an additional £150. And you can see down the bottom here that it's actually calculated the overall membership fee. So that's pretty handy. There's some duplicate stuff down here, which is not relevant in this case. Cool. And that's the sort of setting up new memberships. And obviously you can pick a date. So I guess starting from the 1st of April, and then it automatically fills it in for the year. And then you've also got you've got the ability to change the membership type over time as well. So if during the year this council decides to upgrade, you've got the option up here to change the membership type to a different one. And you can sort of pick the new membership. And then it's got a warning up there about that any services might get updated. So it sort of tries to guide you through the process. So you can change membership types during the year. And then the final thing to mention on memberships is the renewal, because obviously every year that has to be done. So we do have a memberships link up the top here. And so if I just look at active memberships, just filter all those. And if I want to renew them, I can just select them all up here and then go renew memberships. And then that gives you a little wizard to say all these memberships are going to be renewed. You just do a final check there, and then renewal will then go through and update all the dates on those memberships or create memberships for the following year. So that's sort of how that all works. Cool. All right. I think that's it from my bits. So I think it's time to hand over to Sally if you're ready to do a bit of a demo.
I am.
Brilliant. Okay, cool. Thanks. Is there any questions on the bits that I've shown just before I finish? No? Cool. Okay, I shall stop sharing and hand over to Sally then.
Right. If I go your entire screen, oh, here we are. Yeah, so if I do that, excuse me, I'm not used to doing, you're seeing your cells, I'm guessing now. There we are.
It's coming up. Yeah, okay, got it.
Right. Yeah, it's odd, isn't it? I can't see everybody. Yeah, so you can see that all right, can't you? Just reassure me. Okay, off we go. So there's a lot for you to take in, I realise, but I'm going to kind of focus on the things that are important to us as a county association, and that's what drove us to this. So the big thing for me is about processes and how we manage what we're doing and how we're doing it. Came to Suffolk, where quite a well-regarded county association, but nothing was kind of recorded the way I would like it to be. And so this I call sort of, you know, our how we manage our process, how we look at succession planning, how we think about when my trustee advice manager isn't here, or what would he have said, what knowledge has he embedded in the system, and you know, as and when people move on, that's really important. So that's what we're looking at. We're looking at what they call the knowledge base area here, and you'll see there's a number of things there, but I'm going to focus on SALC operational guides, and we've got this here is about how we use our systems, and I'll come back to that in a minute. But here's one on technical knowledge. So Russell sort of showed you there that he was going to go back with, you can still see emails popping up. Apologies for that. you can see that we've got here details of all the different labels we've got around powers, etc. So if I've got one around health and safety, I actually haven't, but one of our big ones is around meetings. Then I can see, I should really have turned my email off, shouldn't I? Then we can see that we've got one around face coverings and the thing that Jim has put in there. And actually, for once now, we've got a mechanism to review that. One of the things that the problem was in my team is that we had loads of information, folders on our data drive, grouped by council, so that we could see the date of when we told somebody something. And you can search that, that's fair enough. But when people aren't here or you haven't created it, you don't know where that is. And how do we make sure it's up to date? So if someone has recorded what was said to a council and we use it and repeat that advice. So this way, we've got some concrete practical stuff that we provide, some wording, and we've got a mechanism for reviewing it, which is really, really important. So these within the system are called articles. So there's one about living opposite a neighbour who might have a private interest, etc. And the intention here is that we're going to try and get a bit more imaginative with these and maybe make them into standard email templates, etc., etc. So that's just an example of how we manage knowledge and how important that is to me. Operationally, again, we want to have our policies and procedures, and I didn't have those in here. I didn't mean to create, so I'm going to go back to articles. For us, I want to know how we manage things, that the team know how to manage it. For example, we've got things about passwords in there. And I'm moving everything over. I used to know ISO systems, and I've learned with Junari about simplifying that because that's too big for a county association. But the backbone of it and the principle is really important. So within here, we've got our staff handbook. This is a new thing, and that's, you know, that's it in its very basic form. If I go back to our office manual, this is how I've developed it and move things into a simplified form. So we've got an overview, we've got a mechanism for reviewing it, and within here, I'm hopefully recruiting a new member of the team. So this drives me to help them understand what we do and how we do it. So all the information, we've got some video guides in there because my team seems to struggle on how to do out of office, for example. So we put that in there. We've got our structure chart. We've got a framework of how we have all our policies and procedures. And then everything that's linked to this office manual is here, so people know where to go. So we've really started to learn more about how we can use the system rather than looking at it and thinking, oh, well, we don't need that bit, or we have all our stuff over there. We've really shaken things up. I've got a reputation for you've taken the duvet and you've shaken the whole thing out. And yes, I have, but we needed to do that. In terms of knowledge base for the JAMS system, you'll see that that's kind of up there. That's because as you learn, you embed, and that's exactly what we did. So there are lots of wikis, and they're called wikis, but they're knowledge base on the JAMS system. So you can see here all the user guides are in there. I'm telling you how to do things. I'll just go back. The training pathways. So if you're an administrator, if you're a user, all of that. As we went along this journey, we added, and there's some more frequently asked questions. So this we've worked along the way and embedded as much as we can. What I also wanted to show you is an extension of these articles, because I've got to bring my team along with some of this change. I'm kind of used to CRM systems, but I do know that change, like having a brand new phone, we use the familiar bits. We don't explore some of the snazzy things that actually tempt us to buy something, but actually we never quite get round to doing it. That's an important part of change management, and that will be ongoing for a long time for us. But my team are very positive. I wouldn't deal with inquiries any other way now, so that's really good from my point of view. But I've started to explore the idea of a team extranet, because we're looking at working remotely. And I've developed this as a legal service before when there's been a large team and people don't know how to do simple things, and how policies and procedures are all right, but we need these quick guides. So this is brand new that I've been working on, and the team like it. So we're going to be using this. So you can see there's hot links. These hot links go to various places. They go to our shared drive with all the legal topic notes. That's a digital version of Local Councils Explained. There's a link to local government, the knowledge bank that I've just shown you, some templates that we've got. This is for the team, so the manual, the handbook, how to record flexi time, etc., etc. And then all the stuff that I get involved in, and that should be 50 times as big as that because I'm so busy with stuff. But you can see we've got some of the projects that I'm involved in, our climate forum, the East of England that I work with, and an overview of all our projects. So that kind of takes it around the houses a little bit, but that is kind of my style. I don't know whether we'll keep this or not, but it helps bring my team on board. And I think that's really, really important. Now, if we look at some of the other information that we've got in terms of a knowledge base, I'm going to go in here to our portal, which you've obviously already seen, but this is the Suffolk one, and this is going in as me. I'm not going to log in and out as a test clerk, but this is what our portal looks like. We've got all our events, we've got our news feed, legal topic notes, our bulletins, details about our services. We've got NAUC's news feed there. And the design of this is to make it valuable for clerks to go to. We don't want this to be a one-trick pony where they raise inquiries. We want it to be somewhere they can go to and reference. In fact, I call it a workroom, which I think is a better description. We've even developed some video guides on how to use the portal. And so when they access the inquiry, when they were invited to the portal, we sent out a video. These are like a minute long. It's as brief as it can make, how to get your inquiries, how to book events. The book events one has been really, really useful. So that's ours. But within this, the reason for showing you this is we've got an information bank. And this is something we really wanted to do with this with NAUC, which was the model council. But anyway, we're developing it ourselves anyway. And this is work that myself and Jim Friend has been doing, the advice manager here. We've got a brief overview of employment, being a good employer, and I've got a brand new one to add on to there about recruitment that someone's just recorded for me. And we've got here some easy to read stuff that we can refer our clerks and counsellors to and to form part of our training programme. And it kind of takes away, or look at that legal topic note, look at this. It just breaks it down and makes it easier for our members to read. I mean, I know other county associations have got stuff like this, but and if they want to, they can watch this very brief overview. It's about 20 minutes long. Of that bit. Sorry, I'm going to go back to the information bank and look at the one that meetings. I did employment. Jim Friend has done a meeting. So we've got, he's decided, as part of the model council, he'd already defined what are the areas that people want to look at. We know that there's local councils explained, but that's out of date. We know that there's legal topic notes, and we know we've got all our other knowledge, but it's very difficult to work with sometimes. So we felt this was really useful. And then finally, I've got another bit in there, which is the local council calendar, which again, many of you may well have. So that's that. The other bit I wanted to show you was events. So we've switched all our events. Now, I know some of you have got some specific packages on managing events, which is fine. We've got a whole list of events on here, including all our e-learning. So councils here can look at all our networks and they can filter depending on, I mean, I'm doing, you know, I do loads and loads of events week in and week out. So if we look at our climate forum, for example, we can see that one's unpublished, and I'm seeing it because I'm logged in as me. But a clerk can look in, they can think, oh yes, that's an interesting one. I'm going to register on that, put in their name, put in my name, continue, and immediately the system will say you're confirmed. And in the background, they'll get an email to confirm it. And then they'll get all the delegate pack, all the Zoom room meeting details, all automatically. We've sent all of that up. So it's a significant saving in terms of administration for my team, which I think is hugely beneficial. So we've done lots of standardization, and we're really pleased with that. I also then wanted to show you the website. So this is not published yet, although it's got published up there, because I thought, oh, will some bits not work if I don't do that? So, but it's not really visible anywhere. So this is the brand new website. Now, you don't have to have this. It's just that I like this sort of stuff. I spend too much time on this stuff, to be honest, but I you know, we have had some praise for our basic website that I moved to a few years ago. Sorry about the emails coming in. And so if we look at this, something that I do want to impress on you is that I learned from Junari, and this is the power of working in partnership and using technical and someone from outside looking in, and also having an attitude. We are not going to create what we've currently got. We need to change, and we need to work as best as we can. So never map and create as is. Always look at to be. And you're only going to know to be if you've got technical people that will say, well, why are you doing it like that? You've already done it over here. So why would you do it? This would be a better way. And that's a really good lesson to learn. So our website is going to be public facing. It's going to showcase actually the sector as a whole. It's going to shout about the work that we do, but it's also going to shout about councils, clerks and officers. There's a number of reasons for that. Number one, we want to showcase, you know, what it is to have to step up on behalf of your community. But as we were saying at the start of this, we're heading for a bit of a crisis with clerks and councillors, and we really need to help unlock what it is that they do. And I know, Jackie, you've recently done a video on that it, you know, purports to say if you want to make a difference, you know, get involved, etc. So that's the purpose of the new look of our website. So we've got news and we're showcasing about what we do, but this is, councillors can look at this, but the stuff that we want clerks in the everyday is in the portal. And Junari helped us distinguish that, because otherwise we have stuff everywhere. So we've got a bit about us. You can see we've got profiles about us, the team. They'll hate me showing pictures of them, but there they are. And we've got profiles of our board and executive. Again, we need these people. We need people to be on our board. That's really important. That's outward facing. And you can see it's a bit overview. So there's loads of stuff that you can do on there, which is really useful. The next bit is just to talk a little bit about marketing and mailing. So we've now got all our mailing going through here. We have 3 publications a week, Mondays, and I kind of got a little bit of this from the Essex Association, and so we've tried lots of different things. Mondays is the technical stuff. We want clerks to be ready. We know from our analysis of the use of our website as is, that Mondays, Tuesday, Wednesdays are busy days. So that's when clerks are most active. That's when the technical stuff goes out. Tuesday is about training. That enables the clerks to forward that training mail shot to their councillors to see what they're interested in. And Wednesdays are vacancies. And sadly, we do have a lot of vacancies in Suffolk. But we're starting to be a little bit more imaginative with it, because we are looking at how we can mail shot people who are part of the parish online sector. So this is the user group for Parish Online. We've got within our membership database now, we've tagged those members of Parish Online and we're targeting them. So what does that help us think about? Well, we've got groups that are interested in our climate emergency. So we're not sending out 372 mail shots to every one of our members. We're segmenting it and we're targeting those that have shown an interest in climate. We will then work on those that have got cemetery responsibilities, playground responsibilities, allotment responsibilities. Our internal audit users, we're already doing that. Our payroll users, we will do. That allows us then not to sort of target everybody. I hope that will be interesting. We will monitor the clicks. I say that as if I know what I'm talking about. Well, it's very easy here. It tells us how many have been delivered and how many have been opened. And I like to look, I mean, they're all my mailings because it's there, but you can see that we can mail out, for example, all those delegates that are on a course and say, you know, we've added this to the shared area, or can you please come 5 minutes earlier, or etc., etc. We've recently done a podcast on antisocial behaviour, for example. So we've those that attended, we said, listen to the podcast, we've got it there. So we're getting a lot more imaginative using the system that we could never ever do before. And it's important because not all councils are the same. So like you, we've got clerks that are working 5 hours a week on a Monday, and we need to help them. We don't need to sort of, thwart them with stuff because we think, well, you're a local council, you need to know about this stuff. That is our real USP. And what we want to do is use this system that allows us to convert our USP when we talk to councils and councillors or clerks on the phone, that they know that we know the walk that they have to walk, no matter what size, rather than assuming that they know what we're talking about because we said it in our mailing and we've sent it to them. So that's really, really important. The next bit, and I've not got too much to show you now, but this is my dashboard. Everyone in the team has their own dashboard and they set it up however they want it. I'm still configuring mine. I'm still thinking what would be useful, and we've got some shared dashboards and specific topic dashboards, as you'll see. But I'm currently monitoring some training feedback because we've run a survey on the code of conduct. So I'm just monitoring the answers to that and also some other feedback there. So I've got that on my dashboard and I can quickly look at it. And I'm also looking at our internal audit service. So we've actually added the internal audit service and we're mapping it here. So what we do is we have a shared folder for, we use OneDrive, so that's a posting room for the documents. But my team now monitor what's coming in using that customer service area that you saw, and I can see how they're doing, how many have been allocated, how many have we received, etc., etc. You can see we've had 44. We do about 100 and something audits a year. So that's just my quick link to that. Inquiries, I can see in my inquiries how many I've had, how many I've dealt with, and I can look at all of the inquiries. I can look at my Silka learners that I'm currently mentoring and supporting. There's the online subscribers parish online, and they've got all sorts of different groups, including who's a buddy, and then members, and a good majority of them are parish meetings that are non-members. So that's my business management, but the team will have something a little bit different. They'll probably have their inquiries, they might have their tasks. I've got a running total here of all the users. We've got 372 members, and we've got 2 or 3 that have got duplicate emails, and so they're not, we can't persuade them to have individual emails, which of course is good practice, and we know all the reasons around that. So I'm just looking to see, I think that's a good uptake in using that. So that's my data management. But really, you know, what we should be asking ourselves as county associations is about national data sets. I do not want to be constantly filling out surveys or exporting data in a particular way or gathering it because I don't need it. One of the first things I did right at the beginning was to say nationally, what data is everyone collecting? How valuable is it? Would this be valuable to you now? Can we have it so that it's dynamic and you can have a dashboard and you can have a graph and you can just take it, and wouldn't that be a lovely place to be in? And I think, you know, there would be a benefit in obviously now knowing the number of councils maybe that have got general power of competence. I think they're asking that at the moment. I haven't got that data. I, as a team, will consider whether we want to collect it or not. But I did ask at the county officer network session the other week about the ALCS award, and asked, have you got the latest list of who've got them? They last for 4 years. Do you know how many of are now up? Who is responsible for saying your standard needs renewing? Are you going to do it? and I'll leave that with now because I haven't had an answer to that. But I will be getting that data and I'll be managing it in Suffolk, but it should be managed nationally. But anyway, that's where we are. So looking at our overall dashboards in terms of management, our event management one is just a rolling program of who is registering for invoicing purposes that my team watch. So the finance manager will look at that. We did have it where it sent emails on who people booked, but she didn't want that. She wanted just to go into the dashboard, have a look at the bookings that are coming up, see what's been booked this week. This is attendance levels. So we mark now who's come. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that yet, but I do tick off like a register who's actually said they were going to come and who actually did come. That's quite interesting data, I think. And then finally, our inquiry dashboard, which is the Swizzy one, and I've saved the Swizzy one till the end. So our employment and meetings and financial, these are the top calls, as you can see, on topic type. This is really good because it shows that actually our portal this year, and we only started late last summer, I think September, autumn time. Now more people are putting stuff on the dashboard than sending by email, and then the team like to look who's busiest for some reason. So we're looking at new and different ways of working within the portal for our area. I will have to log out as me to show you this and log back in, but this is something new that we're testing. Hopefully it'll let me go in as some test clerk. Has it got it there? This is where it, something went wrong. Why did it do that? Anyway, I can now, I'll try again. I'm sure it will let me in as test clerk. It's because I've got all these things open, I think.
I think Sally and Ross can probably advise. It's because you can't be logged in as two different users in the same browser. That's deliberate, intentional, also because of security issues.
Yeah, but we all try and find a way around that, don't we? But yeah, that's what I suspected. But we're allowed, you can add attachments here. So something that we're looking to offer is a vault service, and we've added this right at the bottom. I can't see it, but there it is, vault service, and it allows somebody to add the contract for the clerk. So contract for the clerk, and add it and upload it, and then that adds against the council record. And we're thinking about the process around that because our minds have gone a bit haywire and thought, oh, well, we could hold their passwords, or we could do whatever, and we're just thinking a little bit, well, let's just take it one step at a time. But holding and having in the vault the clerk contract against the council record is really useful for employment matters, because it's nearly one of the first things we ask and say, have you got the contract? No, they've got it. And then we have had an instance where there's been a problem with that. So we feel that that's a valuable service. So that is that's my bit. I'm going to stop sharing, and I hope you found that useful. It said stop share, but it hasn't stopped sharing.
No, you have stopped sharing. So thank you.
Oh, okay. There we all are. I've gone to another tab. Thank you very much.
Welcome to new people who've joined, by the way. So thank you very much, Sally and Ross. So much covered in a short space of time. We obviously don't have time to go into the detail of the entire system because it's vast, but Russ is going to quickly run through a few of the other features we haven't shown you yet, which will be useful. Sally, feel free to pitch in at any point because you've got experience of using them in a live situation. Russ, oh, there you go. Russ, all ready for us?
Yeah. All good. Cool. Yeah, cheers, Don. Thank you, Sally. Cool. So yeah, just want to, as I mentioned earlier, you can see there's obviously lots of functionality. This is based on a platform that we've built lots of modules on top of. So lots of options. Obviously, you don't have to use all of these, of course. We can turn them on and off depending on what areas of the system you want to use. But I just wanted to demonstrate a couple of bits. So there's a question in the chat about the website and whether you just use the portal. So as Sally demonstrated, you can actually create your whole website within this software as well. So I'll just quickly show you that. So I clicked on the website option and go and look at the website. And so here's the website view. We've actually got a demo page set up here. It's just got a few bits and pieces, and to sort of edit the website, it's actually just as simple. We've got a big edit button up the top here, so we'll click on the edit, then I can straight away just start changing things. So let's say builder, any text you want to. And then on the right here, you've got lots of different things you can drag in. So you can just add let's add some columns. I'll put that in there. There you go. So I can put in this could be I don't know, careers, job listings. It to be something else. There you go. Whatever. There you go. So yeah, it's just a really quick sort of drag and drop interface for editing a page, and then I can just hit save up the top. And there you go. You can see the great website builder, and then you've got your image saved straight away. And at the top here, the link that Sally mentioned, this published or unpublished. This is so you can create a page and not publish it. Then when you're ready to expose it to the world, then you can then click that publish link. You can also do things like only make pages available to your members, so you can have sort of member-only pages for information that you don't want to make public. So yeah, lots of functionality around the website builder. So we have got a few ALCs that are building their websites entirely within this system. You then got so Sally touched on the event management, and we had a question about invoicing for events. So I'll just very quickly show you the event system. So again, just on the events menu on the left here, you have events in different stages. Whether you announce them, etc., and you can sort of manage this. Again, you can drag and drop depending on what stage events are. And then within an event itself, you've got they're called tickets. That, effectively, you can have, if you've got a price against the registrations, you can put those in. You've also got things like automatic emails that get sent out, sort of reminders that you can set up, and then you've got invoices. So when the invoicing happens, you've got that. Just to show you from the front end. So you've got an events page, which again Sally briefly showed earlier. So you can sort of categorize these however you want, just park training or whatever. And then I was going to quickly show the registration. So when I can look into the details of this particular piece of training, you can see it's got a price of £10. Like I say, I want, let's just go for one, so I don't have to type in too much. And I can register somebody. Put in the name, continue, and then because this is a paid item, so it's templates, so invoicing tax as well, and confirm, and then I can do backs payments and things like that. So it's got the ability to do paid, and then there's invoicing integration we can do behind the scenes as well. Cool. Then another one, there's a couple more to mention. Go back to here. So we've also got built-in surveys. So click onto there. Again, a similar thing. You've got surveys in different statuses. I'll click on a member satisfaction survey. So again, you can sort of put in sections and questions. If I add a question just to see what that looks like, you've got different types of questions, numbers, dates, etc. When you're intending to renew, or any sort of questions you want to ask in that. And then you've got the option to share it, so you can just send out a link to the survey, and I'll just show you what it looks like if I click on the test button. Okay, start the survey, and then capture all these questions that we ask. How satisfied are we? That sort of thing. So you've got that sort of functionality again, all built into the system, which is super handy. Just a couple of things, couple of last things. So we've got marketing, which I think Sally might have touched on. So this is email marketing, or email. So I think most ALCs use this for their newsletters, things like that. So again, you've got things in different stages. So I've got here a May 2022 update. It works very similar to MailChimp. You can choose who it goes out to. So this particular one's set up to go to chairman. You got, you can set up mailing lists within the system. And obviously then as new councils, you get new members, they'll get added to this mailing list. So again, it's handy having it all in one system, because all the data's, your mailing lists are always up to date. And again, as with the website, you've got your visual editor here, so you can just add text and all the rest of it, change the text, etc., etc. So that's all pretty straightforward to use. I don't actually set how it goes to, so let's just set it's going to chair people. Oops, there we go. Cool. And then it's not on here, but we also have a project management system, which is again, it works similar to I guess similar to this sort of thing, where you can create a task and you have stages, and you can drag the a project task through different stages. So that's quite helpful if you've got internal projects for managing your internal projects really, and assigning them to people in the same way that we showed the customer service tickets earlier. So, and that's it. So a lot to take in there, but I'll hand back to Don to do the final bits. Are you on mute? Are you, Don?
Did something happen, by the way? Because my screen just froze. So I just.
Oh, okay. No, I've just finished up. So I've just finished the demo. So
that's good timing. I've missed the last minute or so while I've been trying to.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, it's good timing. No, we literally just finished the demo, so we're good to go.
Russ, if you can attend to the screen share stuff, and I'll carry on then. If cause it's back to me now, I think, isn't it?
Yes, it is next year. Yep.
All right, thanks for that, Russ. Although I did miss the last bit, but I'm sure it was great. So as you'll have deduced from Sally's section of the demo, much of the benefits we expect to see, as I said earlier, are in best practice, as you're the people that we hope to be using this on a daily basis. So there's a million ways you can use this system. Obviously, we try to do our best to kind of constrain it to be useful, but we don't want to constrain it too much, because as we've seen from Sally and the other 3 ALCs who have signed up, you're going to come up with better ideas than we can possibly come up with, because we're not running an ALC every day. So we want to give you that freedom to make the best of the system. Right, so here's a few notes about our plans for the system going forward, just some very brief notes, but the whole idea is that we're using your investment to develop the system the way you need it. So the knowledge base, for example, we want to have tighter permission control, so you can have confidential areas of knowledge base. For example, you might want to have all your HR policies to be read-only for most of your team. You might want to have your finance policies to be invisible to everybody except the CEO and your finance person. As has been mentioned in the chat already, and Russ, if you can attend to any chat messages, because I can't see those at the moment. We already have integrations in some of our other systems for Sage 50 and 0. And this works by pushing out invoice information from our systems into those packages and then pulling back payments. So we're ready to put those into JAMS. We're just waiting for a couple of ALCs to come on board who actually want that. Obviously, there's no value in us putting that into the system if nobody's going to use that. And in answer to, I can't remember the other accounts, but Scribe, somebody mentioned Scribe. We've just checked and there is an API for that. That means that we're able to talk to it, which means we can send information out and pull information back. And we were also asked, I can't remember by which ALC, whether we could do QuickBooks. So the answer is yes, because they also have an API for that. So pretty much all of that. Oh, was that yourself? Yeah, okay, thanks. But the key thing about the finance integration is not just taking invoices and pushing them out, but actually integrating into the parts of the system you want. So that would be ticket purchases. For example, you want to synchronize out with the correct nominal code and pull back payments, your membership payments, and that's the bit that we need to do. We can't just plonk in a 0 integration or a Sage 50 integration. We have to make it work for JAMS specifically. And hundreds of other ideas that have come out since we've been creating this product. For example, a downloadable feed of council information, which one of the ALCs wanted to supply to the police, and a single login across all the different systems, so that the central JAMS system where you log support queries, etc., is just one single login with your Google login. Easier HR features. We've already got timesheets, for example, and employee general HR management, but we'd like to make that more usable, and time off booking, those type of things for your annual leave, if you wish to use those features. It's nice to have that information in one place. You know, it's the same people who are booking your events who are in your HR system because they're members of staff. So if you've got the option to have that in one place, that's often the best way of doing it. So going back to where we are at the moment, so as of this month, April 2022, we've got Suffolk ALC, Northants ALC, Lincolnshire ALC and Derby ALC who are already using the system. We've actually got the capacity to deliver 3, 4, 5 ALCs per month. And there's an economy of scale if multiple ALCs come on board at the same time, mainly because of the training side of things. So every ALC that we deliver to, we have to do a certain amount of custom setup. You're going to give us all your data to import, you know, your members lists and other contacts and in the events, those sort of things. But then if we can get multiple ALCs onto one training course, that leaves more in the pot for us to develop the system. So there's that economy of scale there. So that's ideally, that's why we wanted to talk to everybody as a collective. If we have 4 ALCs saying we'd all like to sign up, and one of them saying, well, we don't want to sign up until 2 months' time, we'll probably go back to the first 3 and say, well, actually, why don't you all wait until that month and we'll kind of deploy you all around the same time. So that economy of scale is what we'll be reinvesting. When we kick off, after we do a kickoff with any tranche of ALCs, we also have individual kickoff meetings. So that's where we then our program manager and Russ and his team then go through and say, right, let's see what data do you want us to import. I think somebody just asked this question actually, and the answer is yes, you can. So we can put any type of data really that's structured, we can put in. I mean, if you send us 200 Word documents, we'll struggle to be able to import that, as you'll understand. But if you send us a nicely structured Excel file, we can map that information across into our system with lots of clever ways, splitting information out and merging it back in, etc. We did have a feature request system running. Got a little bit messy because it's quite difficult to curate. And again, going back to my Mind days, I remember the same sort of thing with National Mind, and you've got 200 Mind associations coming up with ideas together. And National Mind have only got so much of a budget to spend on enhancing their services, and probably a similar thing in your case. If you're all coming up with 50 ideas a month, then there has to be some way of kind of prioritizing what we do with the investment. So we did have a feature request and voting system, which we may put back into place. Onto the training side of things very quickly. So over the past 4 years, with lots of projects, we've worked with a lovely lady called Philippa Richardson, who's very capable. And Sally and Philip, I can't see Sally. Oh, there you are. Sorry, Sally. Sally and Philippa worked very closely together to come up with these training tracks so that we've got separate knowledge base articles that you can refer to, how to do this individual thing, but also a training track that talks you through them in a sensible order so that when we provide you with training, you're going through in a sensible way, but you can go back to those knowledge base articles at any point. Okay, so onto the investment and what's included. Somebody's already asked the question, but just to go over that for the video. So we're asking for an initial investment from each ALC of £10,000 plus VAT and ongoing fees of £27 per user per month. And this includes software license, the hosting, access to any training session. So if we're running another training session for another tranche of ALCs in 4 months, you're welcome to join that as well. Access to our support portal and lots and lots of free monthly upgrades, because the JAMS system is built on Junari's core system, which we update every day. Also, out of that £10,000, we've been allocating somewhere between 40 and 50 hours of work for each ALC to set up and configure your system to suit you, to import your data, to configure the portal for your member councils, to help you integrate with or replace your website. I'm sure there's lots of questions about how the website stuff works. Some of it's gone into the chat, but Russ will better explain that. So as I said earlier, the remaining investment from each tranche then goes back into the development of the system. And to tie up before I open this up, so by next week, we'll be sending you all an email which contains a link to watch a recording of this meeting in case you want to share it further, and a link to a shared folder which we shared before, which has got Suffolk ALC's original due diligence document, which answers hundreds of questions that you might have about hosting and security and all these type of things to ensure we've ticked the boxes. Obviously, our contact details and lots of other files which are all indexed nicely at the top, so it's nice and easy to navigate. And one final note before I open this up. So we're happy to have further individual calls with anybody who's here or anybody who watches this video, because you might have some specific questions. But if you come up with a really good question that we haven't thought to answer, then it'd be great if you let us obviously tell the other ALCs that, somebody's come up with this question and here's the answer to that. And that's it for the presentation. So if you want to kind of come off mute and use the hand up button at the bottom or type stuff into the chat window, I can read out some of this stuff. Oh, wow, there's lots of messages in here. I'll read some of these out. So Janice says, subscription fees are pretty complex with discounts depending on size it can cope with. Yes, so we will be able to create, a framework so you can have formulas, based on the electorate size or the location or all these type of different rules that can calculate things like your membership fees.
Yeah, the main thing with the system as is, you don't have to use the calculation that's there. You can use whatever calculation you want. So
you can override the fee, can't you?
Exactly, yeah.
It's very customizable. Almost all the drop-down lists are customizable, as you've seen. Anybody else wanted to ask any questions? There can't be no questions after all that. Or have we just overwhelmed you on a Friday afternoon? Multiple? Yes, of course there'll be. Yeah.
I mean, I think there is an awful lot of information.
Yes, of course.
In a very short period of time.
Yes.
And I think by definition, I think because of the kind of people we are, we're kind of trained to look for the issues rather than immediately see the benefits. I guess kind of two things struck me. One was that there is a huge investment here in gathering information. And I know that sometimes it's kind of useful to have information, but I guess that collecting it just because you can collect it, I'm not sure I see the value of. And on that point, one of the reasons why I guess the National Association doesn't have specific records on a huge number of things is the same reason that Cheshire doesn't, which is that you may ask for the information, but it doesn't mean that you get it. So, I mean, I know that, even simple things like finding out if a council has GPOC, you can ask them a dozen times, and you still cannot necessarily find out whether they've got it or not. So even populating that information does in fact take a great deal of time. It's an observation, and I say I need time to process it before I think really what I might want to do with information and whether or not it really is.
Just before you go on to your next point, if it's okay, Jackie. So yeah, totally agree. Obviously, we can't force that information out of the council's own behalf, but all we can do with this system is make it as easy as possible. So things like, for example, I mean, why not have a provision there in future to say, anybody that hasn't updated their portal or visited their portal for more than 3 months gets an email to say, by the way, you haven't come to the portal for 3 months. Has anything changed? So capturing that information, knowing how we might use it, being cognizant of the future, there's a specific reason we're capturing a lot of the information now. So in the background, we're doing things like storing the last time they logged into the portal, because at some point somebody might come up with that idea and we'll be ready to implement it.
Yeah. I'd say, but I do know it's incredibly challenging trying to get that information from people. And then, of course, you ask, even though a lot of it is, I absolutely get the point that a lot of it's being done for you, automatically, you are still having to chase people for information. And at the end of the day, I need to know what I am going to use that information for if I'm going to invest in actually getting it. And populating NALC spreadsheet is not necessarily a big driver for me in doing it. And my second point really is actually the one that I feel more strongly about. And that is about having a generic database of questions previously answered. And in my experience, would that council came to you with one question that required one answer? It is rarely that simple. I mean, the point that I made really was, what about questions that have more than one theme? Because certainly my in-tray is full of things that aren't as simple as putting it into one heading with one answer. And I am always incredibly concerned about taking information that was given to one council and applying it to another, making the assumption that the situation behind the scenes was the same. So for me, I'm not necessarily sure I find that tremendously helpful, but I appreciate that nobody is forcing me to use the information in that way.
Well, though, just to help with this though, Jackie, I mean, so we run a technical business with software, so we have to provide support, and we're in a very similar situation in that respect. We've got a support portal, and not all of our developers know every answer. And most of the things that come in are kind of grey areas where there isn't one knowledge base article that answers that. This is all the private stuff in the background that we have to guide our people. But it is a starting resource. I mean, there's a lot of information you can find on Google. So the idea of so the way we use our knowledge base, and I assume it will be the same for Sally and the other apps we've already got, is we use our knowledge base for stuff that's very specific to us. And every time somebody comes in with a question that hasn't been answered, we enhance our knowledge base and then send that information back to the customer. So we're constantly building up a library of relevant information. That only partially answers your question. This isn't something that we can solve over a call by me just saying that's fine. We can just magically import all of the experience you've built up as somebody who can manage inquiries and put it into a knowledge base. Clearly that's not possible.
Yeah.
It is a well-structured repository for information to give you a bit of a head start with it.
Yeah, and I'm sure that colleagues will recognise that often the question that needs answering isn't the one that's been asked, which again isn't something that you can pick up by using pre-existing responses. So they're my observations. Neither of those are saying that anything is wrong. But as I say, a lot of information to take on board this afternoon.
This is all about best practice, you see, and this is why I wanted to open up by saying it's not really about the JAMS system from a technical standpoint. We're looking at it from the benefit of creating some best practice, and this is why having Sally on the call and having Sally saying, yeah, almost forget about what Dom and Russ are saying. Here's how Suffolk ALC have worked out how to use it best for us. And if you're all doing that and creating best practice, and we've got an online forum that you can contribute to, you're going to be you're all going to be able to add a lot more contextual stuff than we could possibly imagine, because like we said, we're not doing your job every day.
Yeah.
And thanks, Jackie. Sally, you've had your hand up for a while. Do you want to?
Yeah, I just wanted to agree with you, Jackie. We don't have, when I first started, I said, what data do people collect? Because we didn't have a lot of data. We built it on the basis, with Junari, that we know that this is what other ALCs say they collect. We don't know why, we don't know how valuable it is, but can we add that? So we started on that base, and now we're looking at it and saying, right, so I say to the team, do you want to know that information? What are you going to use it for? So we're really challenging how people are working. We don't want to do something because someone else is doing it. It's got to be because it's a benefit to us. And I'm not so sure. I mean, my team say, yeah, it would be useful to know that someone had got the general power competence, but then we've got to balance up with, we've got to gather that, we've got to maintain it, etc., the points you've made. So I totally agree with that. With regard to the knowledge base, if I had our advice manager here, he would absolutely agree with what you said about standardization, because I come from sort of a process background, and with lawyers, there's no standard answer. So that's my background. It's always that USP, and never one question will be the same. However, he will admit that there are things that he cut and pastes. You're asking me this question. This is the point you need to. So here is the answer. And when he's not there, we have had to search the database to find what he said. I can't be doing that because it takes me half an hour or 40 minutes to answer, when he could do it in 5 minutes really quickly. So we're small, we're vulnerable. We must maintain a high level of service because of that knowledge. And that's the angle that I looked at. So they're not FAQs, but they are that information. And we need it. We so need it. And currently it is buried, or is moving now under the council record. We search the data drive to see if we can find it, and it takes out forever. So I totally agree with your points.
Thanks, Sally. Did anybody else want to ask any questions?
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
It's just about the training, actually, and events, and the integration with external trainers and external partners. So just to take an example, one of the things we do is book a lot of Steve Parkinson courses, and essentially we send out the offer. Somebody sends us in an email saying they want to book a course. We go to Steve Parkinson's book website, we book that. We get a confirmation from there, and we then confirm it with, and there's all of these different processes that go backwards and forwards. But I just wondered about how Junari helps with that kind of process.
Well, I can explain it briefly, but then I'll hand over to you, Sally. Yeah, thank you. Well, so the system allows you to set up automated communications with events and send out invites and monitor who's attending and who's not, publish them onto the website and take payments. And within the automated communications, Sally has found a way to create the link in advance, for example. I'm just talking about how to cut out parts of the process to make it as unmanual as possible, as automated, as possible. So to create an event link in advance and include that in one of the automated emails. And the automated emails have a relative date and time to the event. So if the event is in 2 weeks' time, you can say 2 days before, send this one. On the day, send this one, for example. And that can include the link. But Sally, you'll explain this better than me if that's okay.
Yeah, so we've integrated e-learning from Nimble as well as the Steve Parkinson stuff. I believe we still do a little bit of interaction with him, but the automated bit, this is as best as I've got so far, Karen, but I'm sure there's more we could do. So all that automation happens. The admin team get notification that someone's booked, and then they send that forward to Steve and get that booking sorted out. And then we get a list of who's attended and we invoice. I think we've taken as many of the procedures out as we can. But when we first started to do that, I sort of interrogated with Steve how he was going to do it. And I'll probably look at that again and say, can we streamline it even further? But there is definitely automation for e-learning. The member books onto e-learning through the events. We get notification that somebody's done it because we've set it up that way. They get told what we're going to do next. So if you've already got an online account or a license, a login with Nimble or on our East of England one, then it will just be added to your record. But if you haven't, you will receive an email to register. And then I've set it up so in 10 months' time, the registrant will get an email to say, right, you've got a year to complete this. How are you getting on? And that's it. I've made that as simple as I possibly can, and it's working very well. So there we are.
This is what we can't advise on. You see, you've come up with those ideas because you're using it in practice, and you could link that 10-month follow-up to a survey in the system, for example, and start collecting results that way. So there's lots of things, and that's why we didn't want to tie you down too much. So you still got the full power of what's called an ERP system like this, but with enough stuff customized for how you work that it's useful. Karen, you had lots of questions. I'm conscious that we didn't manage to quite get through all of them because either Russ or I were chatting at one particular time. Blue lights in the background. Sorry about that. Somebody else want to talk for a second while I mute?
That's okay. We can't hear him, Don. That's fine.
Oh, okay. Karen, you'd asked about pulling current advice into JAMS. So that's part of the data import. As long as it's in some kind of structured manner, we can do that automatically. If it's in Word documents, our knowledge base area does accept what's called, rich text or HTML. So you can copy and paste things straight from a Word document, as far as I understand, Russ, isn't it? It'll take across images and diagrams and formatting and things like that.
So yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can put fields from the system into documents. That's not a problem.
Yeah. Just looking through the other questions.
And just sort of to follow up on that. So our advice manager is doing that in the knowledge base, but also in the articles, also in our information bank, but also in the articles. And he's tidying up what he's currently got and he's configuring it, because ultimately I think we'll be able to take that knowledge base and probably publish it. Save us doing two things, and I'm going to test it with Silka, and I've put that in the chat. So again, we're refining the processes, because some of these things are lovely to have, but nearly always digital can make you have more things to do, but just differently. So we challenge that in everything we do. So we look at data input and one data input for multiple purposes. That's the principle that I try and follow. So taking what we've currently got is a bit as is, and we're not really doing 2B, which is my aim.
Thanks, Sally. Karen's just answered if you can pull information straight from your current website. Well, the website builder that Russ showed you is actually is HTML as well. So, I mean, the way I build our demo sites, because as I put in the chat earlier, I'm a terrible website designer. If I'm setting up a demo for one of our customers, I'll take some of their website pages and copy and paste it into a demo of our system, and it renders it exactly the same as on the original. I mean, that doesn't take advantage of all the extra features that are in our system. So you might then want to drag one of those components across, like Russ showed you, and put things into there. But if you can't be bothered to do that, then you can use it as is. So yes is the answer. But you could obviously, probably a better way would be able to use the system functionally. So if you've got some advice that you've hard written that's not dynamically pulled from a database, I can't think of the word, static pages, you can copy and paste those into knowledge base articles, and you can make categories of your knowledge base actually published online. So we can say, for example, and we can also make them published just for people who have logged into the portal. So as a member council, you've always got access to our these sections of the most recent articles in our knowledge base. So another benefit. So one of your auto responders to inquiries could be, make sure you, which is how we work, for example, check the knowledge base first, because the chances are somebody else has answered the question.
It's almost the principle of the Calc network, isn't it? Don't reinvent the wheel. But we've got all our little stuff in our little systems, and we feed it through in an old-fashioned email way. And this turns that on its head. And that's the change, isn't it?
We would love to have a central knowledge. Somebody mentioned it earlier. I can't remember who. We'd love to have a central knowledge base.
It's me. I want it. I want it across the country.
Yeah, it would be amazing. It's one of those best practice things that we discussed earlier. We've been thinking from a technical standpoint how we can do that, because we don't want to have to curate that stuff, and we don't have the ability, and you guys probably don't want to volunteer to do that. But we could. We have the ideas that we come up with are, for example, any articles that you submit, you can edit or delete those, but you can't do other ones. So that might be the simplest way to have like a self-curating system, and also forums to ask general questions. Jackie?
Be careful what you wish for. I mean, one of the unique selling points of our county offices and our county associations is the personal contact. And actually, if we create too much of a self-service system, then actually I think there is going to come a point where members will say, what really is the point? I've downloaded all the information I need. What do I need you for?
I agree, but what this has done is increased our capacity to do that one-on-one in USP, because we are so shackled by managing emails and managing all this other stuff in a long-winded way. I want to do more forums, and I want to be at the side of councils, if you know what I mean. And well, we're doing more. I'm sure you're being asked to do more and more. We've got a county deal, and I just think, how on earth are we going to do all of this stuff? There's just me and a small team. But if we're smart in our back office, that will help me do that. So that's my view. The USP is just in a different way.
We must just be super efficient.
Yeah. These are all these are very relevant points, and managing change. I mean, we've got an online reporting tool for highways, and I'm very clear to our members that this is not an online reporting tool for highways where you don't hear anything. Our response rates are within an hour or so, you get a reply from us. And that's very, very important, because we get calls where I'm meeting in half an hour. Can you help me? Can I do this? Can you help me? And they need to otherwise, when I came to the role, I said, what makes SALC, why are you members? Because you don't have to be members, and if you don't get a good service, don't pay, because I don't want to be part of that organization. Are we a stick you can't do without? Because I want to be a stick they can't do without, and I want that across the sector.
You could see a published knowledge base as one of your premium services. The reason it's so important to be a member is because you're always getting the latest information from your ALC. And even if that was a collective central area, that could still be the same thing. You've got to be a member of your county ALC in order to have access to the central knowledge base.
I must admit, we do a lot of what you were offering with a different system. I mean, we've used ACT. Are you familiar with it?
Yes, very, yeah.
Yeah, for 15 years probably. We only use a fraction of its functionality. But we still find that incredibly useful. I guess that, I have listened, and I will take away the conversations and the information from this afternoon. But I'm not, for me, seeing the great advantage in moving from ACT over to something else. So I'm just not sure. And I say, I know that there's huge functionality in ACT that we don't even use. And then there's the cost, and the cost is considerable. I'm not saying it's not value for money. I'm not making criticism about that at all. But also the ongoing costs, which would, for us, we don't charge or reclaim VAT, would be £1,300 a month, and that's the starting.
For how much per month, sorry?
Sorry, not per month. £1,300 a year.
Oh yeah.
Which again is considerable. And for, I hate even saying it, annoys the heck out of me when small councils say, "But for small councils," but for a small county association, we just have a team of 3 of us. It is a considered. Although that said, when we bought ACT, we only bought it because we had a grant for it, and I think back in those days, I think we paid something like 5,000 for it, which was the only reason we could do it was because there was a grant available at the time that we could link in with. So it will be interesting. I guess my perspective is that there will be a tipping point. If sufficient county associations buy into it, I think it will put pressure on others to do the same. And I guess Cheshire will probably be one of the ones that watch for a while.
Yeah, well, we expect that to be the case with at least half of the ALCS, really.
Yeah, but as I say, there would be a tipping point. At which...
Obviously, we want everybody to think of it as the best practice enabler rather than the technology. Everybody will have their own systems already, otherwise you wouldn't be able to function. But the objective of this was, how can we create something where there's shared areas and you're talking to each other via forums and learning the best ways of doing things. It's something I wish we could have done at Mind, but we weren't able to engineer because we didn't have enough communication with National Mind. So I want to take that place, I suppose, because I failed to do that with National Mind as chair of a Mind. I'd like to take the place of, and National perhaps haven't got the resources to be able to manage a project like this across the ALCS, but Junari have got that type of experience.
Yeah, I guess that certainly from a watcher's point of view, I think that there are groupings of CALCs that work very closely together, but there are others of us that just don't engage at all, and Cheshire is probably one of them. I mean, my biggest engagement is an occasional email out to county associations for something I've not come across, but I don't tend to be someone that kind of works terribly well in partnership. I'm quite insular. I think a few of us probably are.
Thanks, Karen, by the way. Who's signing off. Have a nice weekend. Yes, all valid points, Jackie. Thank you. Very valid. We don't expect everybody to just kind of come off this call and say, when can we start?
Yeah, no, I absolutely appreciate that. And you've been generous in both your time and your explanation. But as I say, it may be that one session like this just isn't enough. It would be, I guess for me, that there were kind of like 3 distinct sections in what we spoke about today, and it would probably have been helpful, certainly for me as the way I think of information, I've had that done in 3 sessions. But again, I guess that's a huge time investment for you.
No, actually, I mean, the email that we've drafted, it's just once I've worked out how to, with my daughter's help, how to get all the bits tagged onto YouTube, as I told you earlier, Sally. And once that email goes out, we've specifically volunteered our time to have individual meetings. We want this to go. It's a very exciting feeling for us as an organisation to have something that multiple organisations are benefiting from. It's just very exciting. And the ALCS, we're telling people that we work with the ALCS. I mean, since I've been on this call, I've already taken a photo and shared it with my colleague to say, look, how cool is this? So there's something beyond, for us, it's beyond the writing a piece of software.
If you can get us to work together as a group, then you will have done something far greater than design a piece of software.
I've done it before, Jackie.
You could probably just pop over to Ukraine and sort it out there and then.
Oh, that would be amazing.
That would be good.
But I have done the similar thing before with the agricultural societies in the UK, running a previous business where we eventually had 30 of them in a group.
Yeah. And
we had meetings and we had best practice shared, and those in that group were all advancing quicker than the rest because they were all benefiting from each other all the time. So we'll do our best.
I think, to be honest, if I thought we could continue working the way that we were, I wouldn't have put the time and effort into it. But I just know that this pace of work and information and the demands of us as county association, doing it the way we were is unsustainable. I mean, I work many long hours and put a lot into it, and I know many county officers do, and I can't maintain that. And I've got to find a smarter way of doing it. And I was quite surprised when I came to the sector from the county level that had been through austerity, and I was quite surprised at how things were done, and thought, why are we doing this 40 odd times, reprocessing this stuff, and why are we this and why are we that? And I left it to do outward facing stuff with members before I looked at the back office, and then thought, right, we now need to look at the back office and how we're doing things. So I didn't rush it at all, even though I really wanted to, and I think that was wise, actually. But I can't sustain like that, and I want a legacy of all of this, so it goes on, because I don't want to fall when we lose some of the experts we've got in our team, and that's a problem when you're a small team. Oh, they're not here, we don't know how to do that, or
Succession planning.
we can't do it. It's a massive deal for me.
Neil, you have your virtual hand raised.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised when I came to this role, Sally, in terms of what it was like, and the antiquated systems and procedures and processes that we were sort of undertaking at county level. It's a sort of microcosm of what happens in some of our councils, not all of them, but in some of our councils. And what I do agree is wholeheartedly that we do need to actually share resources and stop working in our silos. I worry generally about the desire of individual county associations to break away and come out of the closet, or whatever you want to call it, and sort of join up and work together. I think we see it in pockets. And there it sort of works quite well. Getting it sort of done nationally, I think, is going to be quite a challenge. I'd love to think it would happen, and I think there'll have to be some more work done to convince people. And often, because you've got small teams, and I often say this, the county officer tier, we have some very strong personalities and people very resistant to change because it actually impacts them most in their little organisations, because they're either going to be exposed and out of their comfort zone, and also sometimes some of them aren't probably as close to the detail as the people in their team. So it's a bit of a challenging environment to sort of get something like this landed. But I commend you for giving it a whirl and giving it a go. So we'll certainly, as far as we're concerned, we need to do something, without a doubt. We currently have got most of our systems based on Office 365 and various other bits and bobs, which ours would be highly dependent on cost, because we are part funded by Dorset Council, and they are the ones that provide our systems and everything else. So it's not just a straightforward investment on our part. It has other implications for us, and we'd have to have some reassurance, I think, around our grant funding for us to do something like this. So it's not just a straightforward case of saying, yeah, we'll have that, we'll buy it off the shelf and we'll go with it. And I think actually our team now, 2 years on, actually working from home, are probably better equipped for taking on this challenge in terms of it being a change to how we operate and what we do. So I think we're in a better place, which is sort of encouraging. But I think at the moment we're sort of looking around and thinking about what we do, and we've got chats with some other organisations as well. Plus, we're exploring what else we could do with 365, because at the moment that is provided free of charge to us, and the support is and everything else, and that's where we'd have to sort of think about what we do, because we'd have to budget for it. So they're the very real challenges for us. But
thanks, Neil. That's really
That's
useful. And yeah, totally understand your challenges. Yeah.
right, I'm going to have to go.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you very much for that. But we'll retain all your information, and certainly if we want a further update or a one-to-one chat, we'll come back to you.
Have a great weekend, Neil.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, nice to see you, Neil.
Wishing you all a really nice weekend too.
And yourself, Jackie.
Yes, and you.
For joining us.
I'm sure there'll be further conversations.
Yeah.
And, as I say, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thanks.
Cheers, everybody.
Bye.